Chapter 3, The Queen's Gambit. Oh hey, it's our new old apartment. Lying on my sofa, staring at my ceiling, I felt a little like I had stumbled into a strange alternate universe. Okay, are you gonna have a flashback of you being like, what the heck? Mostly because it wasn't my ceiling, but it looked like my ceiling. I suppose most ceilings are similar, though. But, well, it was my sofa, my room decorations, and I sat up and looked around, that sense of unexpected familiarity washing over me again. It was the same. All of it. But not quite. They had tried, though. I wasn't sure if they were that worried about me adjusting here or feeling guilty for ripping me away from all that was recognizable. Either way, since they'd shown me to my quarters earlier in the morning, I'd continued to have the eerie sensation of being at home while knowing full well I was at Cor Solaris. The disconnect was messing with me. There's our flashback. I stood in the door for a long time, looking around with that alternate universe feeling smacking me in the face. What is this?
It's your flat! Surprised?
I suppose that's one word for it. How did all my things get here?
We sent a team to get it all the same day Caleb and Ari grabbed you off the street like two criminals.
And you rebuilt my entire apartment here?
More or less. I mean, I didn't, but a team of some sort did, yeah. Come on, check it out!
I followed her inside, eyeing the architectural elements with curiosity. Even the fixtures are the same.
We are an organization that cares about the details.
A little too much, some might say. This is weird.
Don't like it? Magnus was sure you'd want your personal belongings and thought you might be more at ease in a familiar setting.
The fact this was his idea makes sense somehow.
We can change it if it's a problem.
It's not a problem. I just didn't expect it, that's all. It's great, I think.
You don't sound too sure.
Well, at the very least, I'm glad I don't have to buy an entire new wardrobe. How interesting. So Magnus's idea this time was for it to be like her old apartment, but in his route, it was his idea for it to not be like her old apartment. Processing. What does that mean? I wasn't ungrateful that they'd gone through the effort to bring my personal items here. I couldn't imagine how they found time to get my sofa and everything else. Though there was a small part of me that wondered if they really brought my things or just cataloged them and got new ones. They wouldn't do that. That would be even weirder, right? I mean, they had gone to the trouble to match the fixtures and replicate the floor plan. There was that little tear in the sofa. I could always check. Momentarily forgetting how weird it all was, I hopped up and crouched next to the sofa, trying to shove it away from the wall enough I could get a glimpse at that spot where Dad tore the fabric when I moved in. This stuff is supposed to be nearly indestructible, too. So much for that, he'd ripped it on the first day in the new place. But I couldn't quite see. I gave the sofa a good shove right as the door chimed. Shoot! That would be Vanessa. Earlier, she'd promised me a tour of the tower, since I had seen little of it so far. Courtesy of being cooped up in the medical ward for a week, with Dr. Sasaki scowling at anyone who so much as dared visit me. I went to let her in.
Hey! How are you settling in?
Okay, I guess. There's not much settling to do. I mean, everything is kind of already settled.
Then I hope you took the opportunity to rest.
I've been resting since the day I got here. She laughed at that as she stepped inside. Right behind her was her wife.
You remember Mara, right?
Of course.
Mind if she tags along?
Not at all.
You can't have thought she'd say no with me standing right here. That's why I told you to come with me now. No one can say no to that face. Mara's from the much less amazing Kingsguard, Morgan, but I still like her somewhat. Wow, Vaughn. If you enjoy sleeping on the sofa that much, you can just say so. Oh, please, you'd freeze your butt off without me. Pretty sure it's the arm generating most of the heat, and it's removable. Even though you know I'd gladly give you an arm and leg, if you asked, it doesn't generate heat unless it's attached.
Okay. Why don't you two lovebirds wait a minute while I put my shoes on? At least the two of them were a fun distraction. They are. As I went to get my shoes from beside the sofa, Mara poked around.
Your place is pretty small, isn't it? They could move a few walls and give you more space, you know. All the places here are modular, so it's easy to redesign them. They modeled it after her place in New Albion.
University student. Wasn't able to afford much.
Even in, what was it, prime tier or whatever it was?
Even prime tier doesn't net you a decent apartment, unfortunately. Just life teachers and a lot of exams.
Fair enough, I guess. But it seems like a waste to have such a tiny place when there's plenty of space here.
I didn't ask to have my place recreated. Vaughn and Mara shared a look I recognized right away. I finished putting my shoes on and stood with a soft sigh. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that how it sounded. It really is fine, though. I'm used to living in this size space. Besides, there is a massive bedroom through that door. The only part they recreated was the living space and kitchen. The bathroom is bigger, too.
Might have been easier to just toss you in a new place. Probably sending some mixed signals to your brain to have part of your flat be so similar.
This is my first day out of the infirmary, so I'm a bit off kilter. I'll adapt.
It'll help for you to see more than the infirmary in this place.
Then I'm looking forward to this tour you promised.
Let's go! So this is a residential area, which is, as you can see, boring.
Do all the agents live in the tower?
Not all of them. The tower is mostly for labs, training facilities, workspaces, and the like. Only high-ranking agents live here for the most part. There are training rooms and lounges dispersed through the building. The one you'll be using is 2 floors below us. It's the same one most of the guard members use, and it's closest to where we live.
So everyone else lives nearby as well?
Both guard teams are on this floor. There are some other high-ranking Espers too, a few empty suites. Some lower ranks and admin live on the lower floors.
And above us?
Council members and offices.
Ah, I didn't realize the members were living quite so close by. Wow, they gave council members better accommodations than their highest-ranking Espers? Yeah. I'd always assumed Endgame was all about the Espers. No. Things were quite different from what I'd imagined. Or maybe I was overthinking it. Where are we going first?
We figured we'd show you around to some critical areas before we get to the more interesting parts. We're starting with the lounge. You can always cook in your flat, but a lot of us prefer the lounges after a busy day. It's good to know where they are anyway, since we all spend a lot of time off there.
That makes sense.
Also, Morgan, we have a message for you from Magnus?
Should I worry?
I don't think so. It should be good news. You're being permitted to contact your family with some restrictions.
Alright, well that happened extremely fast this time. Why am I more suspicious than usual? Like, just like that? Okay.
You can't directly contact them now, but you can write a message and the admin will forward it to them on your behalf.
Is that standard for people here? That can't be standard, right?
It's possible communications with them would be monitored, so I think the admin want to make sure your parents are settled and no information about their new location leaks. You're safe now, but there are still people who...
New location? What does that mean? Vaughn glanced at Mara, who lifted her shoulders in a slight shrug, a puzzled look on her face.
No one told you.
Told me what?
Your family was relocated, Morgan. Your parents and brothers.
I stopped mid-step, staring at her as I tried to work out what that meant. Relocated to where? Why?
Well, there have been some concerns about their safety now that it's clear you're with Endgame.
Why would that impact their safety?
Families can be used as leverage, Morgan. Especially the families of high-ranking members like yourself. We can't allow a queen rank to be compromised that way. And we can't allow civilians to be put in danger because of something like that.
I was trying to keep calm as I listened to their words, but anxiety was building in the pit of my stomach. Remarkably, my voice was steady when I spoke. Where were they moved to? Are you allowed to tell me that?
All I know is they're somewhere in Afra. Magnus altered their records.
And their lives were totally upended in every way imaginable? The panic began to seep out and my voice raised in pitch. And why am I learning about this now? Are they okay?
Of course they're okay. That's the point of relocating them.
But my brother was getting married and...
From what I understand, the fiancé was relocated as well.
My parents' work is...
Taken care of, Morgan. We have done this before. If not because of an abnormal recruitment process, then for other reasons.
No. That wasn't the point. I didn't think they'd be affected by this. I never wanted them to be affected too.
Okay, come on. We can't continue this in the corridor. The lounge is around the corner. Let's find a place we can sit and talk this over.
Vaughn took my arm, and I was too busy panicking to do much besides follow obediently. So many thoughts were flying through my head at light speed. What would this mean for everyone now? People were never prepared to just pick up and move like that. And they moved all the way to Afra? Brian was still studying, and this kind of stress would affect his studies. Could Wayne continue to work with the safety department? What about Mom and Dad? Somehow I ended up at a table with my face in my hands. I'd been so caught up in how my life had changed, I hadn't even considered the impact to everyone else. I hadn't even considered the possibility there would be any impact to them.
You okay?
I don't... know. There's just a lot, and every time it felt like I neared homeostasis, something upset it all again.
I'm sorry. If I had known they hadn't told you yet, we'd have talked about it before we left your place.
Her tone was comforting as she held my shaking hands and explained what resulted in this outcome. I barely heard a word of it.
It seems drastic, but you have to understand, Morgan. Most of us come here as children. Information about our families isn't available to the public. Their records are protected. That isn't true for your family. Many people found out your identity, and by extension theirs. It would have been great if we could have taken our time to put protections in place with minimal disruptions. But it wasn't possible.
I covered my eyes with my hand as I listened to her. I'm so stupid. If I hadn't hidden all this, if I had told someone sooner. I'd been so concerned about my stupid goals, and now everyone's life was in shambles because of me. They must be so furious with me. I really screwed up.
Morgan, you did nothing wrong. Love, your family was going to get disrupted by this one way or another. Whether it happened a decade ago or whether it happened now. There's no getting around that having people like us nearby disrupts things. They're safe. That's what matters. And this won't last forever. It's a temporary measure until everything blows over and more permanent solutions are put into place. I know it seems like it, but it isn't the end of the world. Caleb fought hard to get the admin to let you contact them. Focus on that for now.
Well, thank you, Caleb. Dang, you got some sway in this place. Caleb did?
And to be clear, Caleb being insistent about something usually means a lot of shouting. And cursing. Can't forget the cursing.
But Why would he be so insistent? He had said he'd look into it, but I didn't think he'd go that far.
Well, he's rough around the edges, but there's a soft-hearted guy locked in there. Deep down? Way down. Way, way down.
I don't know if it's that far down, ladies. I mean, he was caressing this girl's face on day one.
I know he didn't make the best of impressions on you, but he was as worried as the rest of us. With Crimson after you and...
Crimson? Also, I should probably take that back. Not day one. Day two-ish. Ish. Is that why they're worried about retaliation against my family? If the likes of Crimson had been after me...
Jack didn't mention Crimson?
No. He just mentioned the court. He said he had a friend there, and that was who... located me. I guess it was the king rank Magnus mentioned.
The one who located you was a king rank associated with Crimson. Not that we hadn't heard rumors that there was a link between Crimson and the court, but it's sometimes tough to get into Delphine to verify that stuff.
So Jack is a part of Crimson?
He is now. He used to be a part of Endgame. That was... a while ago. Now he works for Crimson's king rank.
I rubbed my forehead, running my fingers along my brow bone. That explained the weird familiarity he had with Caleb and Ari. I know I was in danger, even without you throwing scary names around. And I understand that's why my family was in danger too. I just wish there had been another way.
With so many groups converging on you.
She trailed off.
I'm sure everything we say sounds like trying to justify ourselves at this point.
It isn't that. I know that you were doing what you thought was in everyone's best interest. I get that. I do. I looked around the lounge, grateful that we were mostly alone. Given the time, most agents had to be working, though I didn't even know what that looked like. What did they even do when there weren't people that needed saving? Or maybe there was just always someone that needed saving.
Even with the Moirai's insight, managing the future is tricky. We do our best, but sometimes there's collateral damage.
Are you saying my family is collateral damage?
No! No. That's not what I mean at all. That's not what I mean. It's just that... even if we can see part of the path ahead, that doesn't mean we can barrel forward with some plan to change it all.
So you're saying things happened the way they had to happen?
What she's saying is this outcome was one of the better possibilities. As much as it's difficult for you to take it all in right now.
Better possibilities?
Even the best of us can only see part of the future, Morgan. Partial images, possibilities. Pieces of a much larger path with many outcomes. If you rush in, you sometimes swap out one possibility for something even worse. Or fallout that you can't foresee. That's why we only make changes we can see clearly and try to focus on as few pieces as possible. There was also a very small window between when we learned about you and when we needed to act. We had to move quickly to secure you and your family. I'm sorry it turned out this way. But you are safe. All of you.
I know. I'm grateful for that. I really am.
To be honest, this was kind of a first for us. There's not usually some huge race to grab the new high-ranked Esper that showed up. Families are informed through normal channels, and everything is handled when Espers are still young. The fact that you're a queen rank, that you were an adult, and that so many people found out about you and were trying to get to you first made everything so chaotic.
No wonder Magnus seemed so annoyed yesterday when talking about my having hid that I was an Esper. It really made everything difficult for everyone, didn't it? This whole thing had been my fault.
I can tell what you're thinking, you know.
Well, you are a psychic. She laughed softly.
I don't have to be to understand what you're thinking this time around. Listen, don't blame yourself for what happened, okay? Just don't get stuck in that kind of thought process.
How can I not? Putting my family through this. And all of you as well.
I've never met your family, but surely they'll understand why you kept it to yourself. I'm so sorry you're going through this. When children come here, it's so different for them. The enrollment process takes weeks, even months, and their parents often come with them as a family. If not, it's still all set up so they have time to adapt. They go through the academy first, so they're not joining Endgame. They're essentially going to a boarding school for Espers. Recruitment into Endgame flows from that. It's not the same disruption you're experiencing. And a lot of kids are super excited to come here. Your situation is so different, and there's a lot of pressure from the council for you to hit the ground running and start training right away. It's not giving you time to adjust. And you know, you're right. If you were a low-level infantry, you probably wouldn't even be here. So you did nothing wrong.
Well, I ain't emotional, so... Come on, Vaughn. Tell me the truth. What's it really like here, when everyone isn't trying their best to make me feel comfortable? When they're not doing their best to ensure I don't fall apart?
Not that different from what you've seen. Yeah, best behavior isn't a thing we do unless outsiders are looking. What you see is what you get when you're on the inside. We support each other a lot, you know. I won't say we're all like family. It's too big an organization for that. But some of us are like that anyway. People on the outside have an inaccurate view of what Endgame is like. It's a lot like other jobs in some ways. We work, we get paid. But there are frustrating things too. There are orders we don't agree with, and we have to follow them anyway. There are internal politics, competing for high-level positions, toxic people, and great people. And there's a lot of responsibility. And risk, sometimes. That's something none of us can ever forget. There's a component of lack of choice, too. Most of us didn't ask to be here any more than you did. We graduated the academy, and there's an almost automatic induction into Endgame's forces. But when you think about it, everyone is limited by their situation in life, their skills, or knowledge. New Albion is like that too, isn't it? A lot of what you consider choice isn't a choice at all.
We did kind of comment on the illusion of choice earlier. She wasn't wrong on that one. If I'd had fewer advantages to start with, I wouldn't have been on the path I was on. If things had gone just slightly different as a child, I'd already be a member of Endgame. That's such a depressing way to view the world.
I disagree. It's not depressing, it's realistic. You still get to choose how you react to things.
What to do with the time that is given to us. She tipped her head to the side, a curious expression on her face. Just something I read in an old book once, from a wise wizard.
You need to give yourself time to come to terms with this.
I mean, I'll be okay. I don't have a choice. It's the time between now and being okay that's hard.
Change like this always is. We're here for you, you know. I'm sure your family will be too.
Mom might strangle me a little.
That's what they do, right?
I mean, when I think about it, we should be more worried about Caleb and Ari than me.
I hope I get to see the day your mom tells them off soundly.
Me too. Maybe it's best to not think too far ahead right now. It's too overwhelming. I still wasn't happy about anything I'd learned, but at least I wasn't on the verge of a breakdown about it anymore. And I really want to talk to Mum and just, I don't know, talk.
Why don't you finish your tour for now? At least see what the place is like. You can write a message to your family when you get back to your place.
I think I can do that. I'm a little calmer at any rate.
I'll take that. There's been a lot on your mind lately, so let's not think about it for a while.
If only it was that easy. This whole place was a relentless reminder of everything that had happened. I could try, though.
So, this is the lounge. Great place to talk, have lunch, and sometimes comfort a friend.
It's nice.
Right? Mara and I were wondering if you wanted to have dinner with us tonight. If you're not up for the lounge, there are a few restaurants on the grounds. Or you can come over to our place if you want something more private. You eat with us, you'll get dinner and a show. Watching Vaughn cook can be quite harrowing. What's that mean? It means you get cookware off the heat with your bare hands. Just this one?
She held up her cybernetic hand and wiggled the fingers at me.
It's Zyzeltan, so it's not like it hurts it. It's still disturbing to watch.
Doesn't it have heat sensitivity, though?
I can turn it off. And since I don't keep a synth skin covering on it, I don't have to worry about damage.
Actually, I was wondering about that. Is there a reason you leave them bare? I don't see that much. Vaughn shrugged and grinned as we walked.
She was perpetually destroying it. The way she fights, you'd think she was a rook and not a bishop. Well, the upkeep was costly. And they look pretty slick like this, right?
I can't argue with that. All things considered, I couldn't help but wonder if she was injured in the line of duty, since, well, we now had the same job.
Wondering what happened?
No! No! Sorry. I was thinking about dinner.
Uh-huh.
Any of those suggestions will be fine. It might be nice to see something outside this building, though. I can watch you pull hot pans off the cooktop another time.
We'll see to it then. You don't know what you're missing, though. I'm a fantastic cook. That's a word for it. Hey! Who's asking to sleep on the sofa now, You'd never make me sleep on the sofa. Oh, you're right.
I hope Mum and everyone are okay. To suddenly be told their daughter was being recruited to Endgame, and they were all going to be relocated to Afra. What had that moment been like? Terrifying, I was sure. Terrifying, confusing. I let out a short, soft sigh. Dwelling on it wouldn't change anything. I'd write a message for them later to at least tell them I was alright. And to make sure they were. I tried to clear that out of my head and focus on where we were going. I had to admit it was also both fascinating and impressive seeing the inside of Core Solaris. It was still difficult to believe that's where I was. Where are we heading now?
Well, I wanted to take you to the training room you'll be using going forward. The one on this floor is the one the guard members use. Some others come up sometimes, though. Rookies hoping to make guard, and some others. We have some outdoor training spaces for working with more significant psi abilities, but this is where you'll be starting. You'll probably end up moving outdoors for some of your telekinesis and biokinesis training.
Sounds like the opposite of fun.
So here we have the training room, and there's your new teacher.
My eyes were drawn to the only person in the room, who was in the process of beating a punching bag into submission. I specifically asked not to have Caleb assigned as my teacher. I half-muttered the words, almost too annoyed to notice his amazing biceps, but not too annoyed. Almost. I didn't expect him to have a tattoo. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I also forgot how awesome his hair looks when it's put up like that. Looking good, sir. Looking good. Caleb stopped, grabbing the punching bag to stop its movements as he turned around to glare my way.
I'm not too keen on it either, just so you know.
He heard that?
Well, now it's obvious why Magnus did it.
That traitor.
It's part of the plan. If you make it too easy for him to bully you, he will. No kidding, Vaughn.
He crossed his arms over his chest, regarding me in silence for a long moment.
That said, it's also a fact that rook abilities are easier to mimic, but less problematic if you do so unintentionally. At least that's been the case with past queens. It makes sense to pair her with me for now, given the council is keen to have her make rapid progress.
But less keen for me to blow HQ up?
The combination of bishop and knight abilities overtaxed you last time. Rook abilities may prove to be a safer starting point. And I can work on your physical training at the same time. Regardless of whether you like it, or whether I like it, it's the most obvious match. So we'll have to cope for now. If you hate it, improve fast. They'll move you to learn under someone else when you've mastered my abilities.
That was a more logical reasoning than I expected. I expected a rant. What exactly do rooks do? I mean, it's physical enhancement or whatever, I know, but what does that mean from a practical standpoint?
It's telekinesis applied to our own bodies. Biokinesis. An example would be reinforcing the muscle fibers to exert force higher than what someone with your muscle mass normally could do. Or applying it to neurons to make them fire faster, resulting in faster reflexes. Or reinforcing our cardiovascular systems to give us more endurance. Speeding cell regeneration and production to increase healing capacity.
That sounds way more complex than something like teleporting.
It sounds more complex because it seems like it involves precise application on a micro level. However, you'd be surprised how automatic it is. For most of us, it's a much more macro process than it sounds like it would be.
How is that possible? Vaughn is so done with this conversation. She's like, bored now.
Think of it this way.
He left the punching bag and went to a haphazard pile of things sitting next to the wall to retrieve a water bottle as he spoke. Nerd. I love it. I love that he's gone into full teacher mode, and they haven't even had, like, their first lesson yet. It's great.
When you breathe, you're not thinking about things like replenishing the oxygen supply in your blood, are you?
Breathing is an involuntary response, though. I don't think about it at all.
Then maybe walking is a better example. You don't consciously think of moving your leg muscles one by one. You don't even think about lifting your foot and setting it down most of the time. It's a conscious movement, but you think about it as a much more broad sort of command. She's not in training right this minute, Caleb. She asked me a damn question, Vanessa.
It's not like it isn't interesting. I mean, I don't mind getting a technical answer. I don't know much about how Psi works.
What are you three up to right now?
Well, Vaughn and Mara were showing me around the tower, that's all.
I could use a break. I'll take over. What? No! We're showing her around. We're not handing her over to you. She's not an object, Vaughn. Caleb got to spend time with her already. I want to talk about her training schedule anyway. Saves me from having to do it tonight.
And we got the eye roll again.
You live next door to her, for God's sake. It's not like you'll never see her. We were going to be getting her mind off all this stuff.
It's okay. If Caleb was going to discuss it with me anyway, it makes sense to get it out of the way so it doesn't disrupt dinner plans, right? Vaughn stopped and gave me a long look, narrowing her eyes to slits before releasing a barely audible groan. She sees what's happening. She knows. She knows what's up.
Oh, not going to win this one? Nope. Well, it'll give us time to make some reservations for dinner anyway. I guess.
She shot me a playful grin as the two of them turned right around and headed for the door.
Would have had more fun with us. We'll come find you for dinner. See you in a little while.
She waved as they left me alone with Caleb, who was pulling on his shoes.
They were just taking you around to show you stuff or what?
You're really going to finish the tour?
I said I was, didn't I?
I kind of expected him to tell me about training and ditch me, honestly. He scoffed and tossed a towel on the bench along one wall.
What you're thinking is written all over your face. You don't have a clue who I am, Leone. Don't assume you do.
Damn. Didn't even have a response for that one. Honestly, I'm surprised Vaughn backed down.
You heard her. She wasn't going to win that one, right?
What, she looked in the future to check?
Well, Vaughn's strength isn't precognition. More like her stupidly powerful telekinesis. But she's decent if it's the immediate future of someone she's looking at. I'm sure she realized I'd follow and bug you if she didn't give in.
You needed to talk to me that much?
I just like annoying the hell out of her when I can.
Is everyone here insane?
It's the only way to stay sane.
That makes no sense.
Give it a few months.
I can't wait.
I'll take you down to the garden next. It's the best part of this stupid tower, if you ask me.
There's a garden?
Come on.
Wow, this is beautiful.
Good for walks and relaxing. Especially late at night when no one else is around.
You go for a lot of late night walks? Caleb shrugged in response, which I took to be a probably.
Anyway, I reckon someone like you will be more interested in the archive, but I was saving it for later.
Oh! I completely forgot about Solaris Archive. One of the largest data and book repositories on the planet. There was a vast amount of information available at your fingertips on the net, but not everything. And it wasn't like it was easy to dig through that much data. Not when it was scattered everywhere and hidden behind obscure search terms. Some records were difficult to access through the net too. But the archive here at Endgame was a vast source of information you couldn't words, tongue, mouth stopped working. Let's try that again. But the archive here at Endgame was a vast source of information you couldn't get elsewhere. Limitless, almost. Planetary history, Endgame's creation, the work from their research division. What are you snickering about?
I told you before. What you're thinking is obvious. Your eyes are practically sparkling.
Huh. Well, it's obvious someone like me would love that place. But my dad's a botanist, so it's not like I don't enjoy the garden, too. It's peaceful, and it's nice to be surrounded by life instead of, walls.
Oh. Your entire family's scientists, then?
My mom is an artist. And my brothers... And I was thinking of them again. They do different things. Caleb must have sensed it was a sore spot because he didn't press further. The mood took a downturn as we both grew quiet. When I spoke again, my voice was barely a murmur. Vaughn said you're the one who made them let me contact my parents. Thanks for that.
I said I was going to talk to them.
She made it sound like you had a fight on your hands over it and pushed the issue until they relented. I just didn't expect you to go that far.
I suppose you have pretty low expectations of me, then.
I mean... yes, frankly? Are you surprised by that? Should I not?
Guess I earned said low expectations anyway.
Everyone has a bad day on occasion. Maybe the fact you helped me out when we first met means I should give you a second chance.
Well, I know my life won't be complete unless you do.
You don't sound like you mean that.
I don't.
The smile faded, and I didn't quite manage to hold back the sigh.
Anyway, I guess it seemed important to you. I mean, of course it is. They're your family. And I guess I just... It's not like it makes up for anything, but I wanted to do it, that's all.
Wow, smooth, man, smooth. He shoved his hands in his pockets.
I know we didn't make it easy on you that day. That I didn't make it easy on you. I'm terrible with apologies and that kind of thing. But I guess I owe you one. I was pissed at the whole situation. That they ordered us to grab you like that, disrupt your life in a way we could never fix. That we were dragging you into this place. That Jack was hanging around.
Because he used to be in Endgame? Caleb gave me a sharp look, the scowl returning to his face.
Who told you that?
Vaughn and Mara. He muttered a soft curse under his breath and looked away. I thought he wouldn't say anything else after that, but I was wrong.
None of that was your fault, but I took it out on you. It was shitty of me.
You know what? He gets major points for admitting that, like, so early into his route, and I mean, okay, it's kind of a... It's not the best worded apology, but it's sincere. So, I appreciate it. He gets a couple cookies from me. Yeah, a little.
It was a lousy day. For you more than anyone else, I guess.
You guess?
Look, what I'm trying to say is it's pointless to spout some nonsense like, I wish I hadn't contributed to your lousy day. Things like regrets have no value for people like us. Still, unlike that king of ours, I will apologize.
Ooh, yeah, man. Every time, just don't mention the king to me. Don't. I'll just get distracted horribly when I should be affectionate with you so early in your route is what I should be doing, okay? I'll accept the apology for being kind of a jerk, but I guess it's unnecessary to apologize for the whole grabbing me part. I suppose you couldn't disobey your orders.
Maybe I should have tried.
I feel like I should apologize for putting everyone in that position in the first place. If I hadn't hidden...
Don't tell me you let that idiot get to you with the crap he pulled in the meeting. Listen, I'll tell you this once, Leone. You didn't do a thing wrong. If you could have lived your life with no one the wiser about your rank, only a fool would blame you for wanting that. Even if you knew you were a queen, hiding it for as long as you did was a normal reaction. Magnus didn't tell you, the last queen hid it too. She didn't manage it as long as you, but only because her brother was identified as an Esper and recruited. She came here with him and still hid it for 2 weeks, before anyone realized she was an Esper at all, much less a queen rank.
For a moment, I let his words sink in, and somehow... an unexpected sense of relief washed over me. I don't know why hearing that from him was so much more relieving than hearing it from the others. Maybe because he wasn't the sort to try to make me feel better. He didn't seem like he'd say something he didn't believe. I thought bringing me here was for the greater good or something.
You don't have to like a decision because someone throws around terms like greater good. You're not obligated to sacrifice yourself because someone else says so.
It's not a sacrifice if I'm still alive, right? That was also part of the reason for this.
The fact that it saved lives was the only good that came out of it.
I got the sense there was something else he wanted to say, but he didn't continue after that. When he spoke again, it was just to suggest we finish the tour because there was more to see. After that, Caleb took me down to the lobby, to the outdoor training areas, some recreation rooms. Apparently, volitant was a popular pastime. I also got to see an aggressive basketball game played by what Caleb said were newly graduated rooks. I hadn't thought basketball was full contact, but it looked like the rules changed when you were Espers. Eventually, we ended up back in the residential area with Caleb dropping me off by my flat. Thanks.
For your training, we'll be starting with stamina and endurance until you're cleared for Psi training. I talked to Ari about some meditation techniques too.
Meditation?
For some Espers, it's helpful for control. And he's probably the one who has to do it most. It's not something I need much since my abilities aren't in the same class, and I don't require the focus he does to keep it all under control. I think that won't be the case for you, so I want to get you started on some breathing techniques you can use to calm yourself down when you get agitated.
It was still surprising how he changed when he was talking about work.
Listen, I've never taught anyone before, and patience isn't a virtue of mine.
Oh, really? I'd never have realized that on my own. It felt like I almost saw the corner of his mouth turn up. Almost.
I won't go easy on you, so rest up.
As soon as he was gone, I left a trail of clothes behind as I made my way to the sofa and flopped face down. That had been more tiring than I expected, and I had so much to think about. But for now, I rolled over and stared at the ceiling. And so the circle completes itself. Open message template. Begin recording. This also felt like it was going to be difficult, but I needed to do it. Mom, Dad, I hope everyone is okay. As you can imagine, the last few days have been a little chaotic. I guess I should start out by saying I'm okay here. They're looking after me as well as you'd expect. And next, I feel like I should apologize for everything that happened, but most of all for keeping this to myself for so long.